Low one, okay. Dear guests and colleagues, Victoria, Ben and Amy Scott, Steve's family, and friends, good afternoon and welcome to this very special celebration of the life and music of our dear friend and colleague, Stephen Scott. I'm Ofer Ben-Amot, chair of the music department and a teacher of music composition. I was most fortunate to work alongside Steve for 20 years, and together we were the two composers within this music department for a long time. By the time I arrived at CC, Steve had already been teaching for 25 years. Thus, Steve was an active and vibrant part of the faculty for over 45 years, throughout which he impacted the music program significantly. With his retirement in 2014, Steve left an important legacy, not only with his own unique creation, the Bode Piano Ensemble, but also with several courses he had devised and that are still offered regularly to our students, such as Intro to Jazz, History of Jazz, Advanced Theory, and Experimental Music. Stephen's departure earlier this year left a big void in the hearts of many people who adored and loved him for his brilliant mind, his kindness, his wit, and his rich, powerful, and beautiful music. Stephen had a variety of interests, but he knew how to translate them all into music. Thus, his life was music and all about music. I invite you to enjoy the celebration of Steve's music, which was organized collaboratively by his many students, Colorado College alumni, and members of the music department faculty. And I'm glad to introduce Associate Chair of the department, Susan Grace, who will introduce his piece, Departure.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of Stephen Scott today. The music decided the best way to honor him was through his music. The program is eclectic and provides some insight into Stephen's compositional influences. I want to thank Victoria Hansen, Stephen's wife, for helping in obtaining scores, recordings, and program notes, and helping me sift through the wealth of compositions. Also for this program, Victoria put together a group of alumni, all former members of the Bode Piano Ensemble, one of the great loves of Stephen's musical life, and they will be performing later on the program. I also want to thank Lisa Gregory, Kate Nelson, and Justin Makey for helping make this program possible today. We're starting off the concert with a piece that was commissioned by new music pianist Lois Svard called Departures. The title has three meanings. First, the composition was a departure from Steve's large-scale works. Secondly, it was a departure from the little or no use of the keyboard in his Bode Piano Ensemble compositions. And finally, each miniature represents in some way the departure of or from a particular person whose life or work had an impact on his own. The first movement, Batavia, was a Dutch East Indies port, now Jakarta, and was the scene of a tragic death in 1770 of a Tahitian star path navigator who was accompanying Captain James Cook. Ruth refers to his mother, who he credits with teaching him much of the music he knew, including harmony and improvisation. Miles Davis and Gil Evans greatly influenced his musical conceptions, and this is in their memory. June Tune is an homage to the great jazz pianist Bill Evans. Vivian was for his close friend Bish Edwards, who passed away while he was crafting this movement. She was an actor, director, and teacher. And finally, Lake Victoria is a flashback on his time in Ghana, where he met and was influenced by Steve Reich. So please enjoy. Oh, and the other thing I was going to tell you is that there's a lot of extended techniques in this particular piece, and so you will see me taking on and off mutes between the movements. And on his instructions sheet, Stephen states, to clarify any of these instructions, ventilate frustrations, etc., please contact the composer.
years between the time of 2000 and 2014. I taught voice here and part of the faculty as principal instructor of voice. And this piece, next piece that's coming up, is going to be sung by Jennifer De Dominici, who's the current principal instructor of voice. And I'm so grateful that she was willing to give her very special, beautiful voice to this unique song cycle. The song cycle, The Desperate Notes, has its origins back in 2008. There were a few years when the Colorado Springs School was having a Thursday night concert series. And one of those thematic evenings was called The Desperate Housewives. Now this was, there was a TV show called The Desperate Housewives. I have to tell a lot of you that because you're too young. And so I asked Stephen to compose a piece for me. I chose the poetry, and it was my intention to show somewhat the cycle a woman, a desperate housewife in particular, might go through in her life. Starting first of all with a kind of selfish, self-centered kind of love, what's it in it for me, and then maybe going on and finding that she's compromising herself maybe a little bit in what she's willing to do for a relationship. And those two are these wonderful sardonic poems by Dorothy Parker. The third piece, we're going to a male poet, Derek Walcott, who brings us home, and in a beautiful way. I'm grateful for Jennifer, as I said, and for Sue, and for the rest of the ensemble. Since I have a moment, I'm just going to thank you for being here on behalf of the family, and also, if you feel so inclined, there are a few sheets of paper out there if you want to, like a guest book, if you want to sign it, and let us know you were here. It means so much. Thank you.
to write an opera. Like a lot of composers, he wanted to produce an opera. And I said, well, what would it be about, the opera? He said, well, as it happens, I have a subject for this opera. An uncle of mine, his name is Riley Allen, was in 1918 a journalist at the Honolulu Star-Herald. And he was doing his reporting thing when he became aware of the situation that was going on in Russia, and the humanitarian crisis was around the Russian Revolution. And so he enlisted in the American Red Cross and was promptly posted to Vladivostok. He was there for only a short time before he started to hear rumors of wild children in the Ural Mountains, of children who had left their homes in St. Petersburg for summer camp and gone into the mountains, and then had been unable to return home because they couldn't go through the middle of Russia. Riley Allen went into the mountains, found the children, there were about 1,000 of them, brought them back to Vladivostok, and had to figure out how to get them home. And so instead of going one way through Russia, he went the other way around the world in a boat, and miraculously restored about 1,000 children to their parents. He then unenlisted from the American Red Cross and returned to what he assumed, I suppose, was going to be a quiet life in Honolulu. And you can hear his voice if you listen to the early reports of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, where he refuses to leave. He's a remarkable figure. This aria is from the very end of the opera. It's Maria, who's a teacher, and she doesn't make it. There are a few people who don't make it. She doesn't make it to the journey, to the end of the journey. And so this is her imagined words to her students about what to think about everything after. Thank you.
One last time, a list of things not 2012, where I got to mix video for them. And then the group went on to Bermuda and sent me back to Colorado Springs. I asked Steven way back in the mid-90s if he had written any solo piano music for the keys. He sort of mumbled and trailed off, never giving me a definitive answer, but shortly afterward produced Un poco Passacaglia. I don't believe he actually had anything until he wrote this piece for me. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, according to Google, Passacaglia is Italian from Spanish passacalle, or street song, musical form of continuous variation in three-quarter time and a courtly dance. The dance, as it first appeared in 17th century Spain, was of unsavory reputation and possibly quite fiery. This piece is un poco like this definition, if you stretch really far, but is hopefully not unsavory and is most decidedly not fiery. It is, however, un poco in length, only one page. Lush chords at the outset in a slowly repeating rhythmic pattern begin to break down with subsequent repetitions until the final, almost mournful notes. Beautiful resonant tones suspended in time. I would expect nothing less from a man who spent the majority of his life with his head inside a piano. I'm honored that Steve chose to compose for and dedicate work to me.
Director of Choirs here at Colorado College. I've been on the faculty since 2003. I'm also the director of the Colorado Vocal Arts Ensemble, a few members of which will be joining us for this next piece. Tautology is the title of the piece. It's written for unaccompanied voices. The title is a play on the word tautology, Tautology, which has several different meanings, actually, one of which is the saying of the same thing twice in different words. It's in writing considered to be a stylistic flaw. In this piece, repetition is structural. We have small units of music, 1, 2, and 4 measures, which repeat anywhere from 4 to 12 times. A tautological argument is a circular argument that ends in the same place where it began. This piece does have a circular feel to it. In fact, I think as you listen, you will perhaps feel that you've gotten on the merry-go-round. Stephen used a medieval technique called hocket, where the notes of a single melody are traded from one part to the next. That adds to the circular, sort of spinning, endless feel to the piece. And also, I think, to its great sense of playfulness. This song is like a game. Finally, in the context of the Greek logic, a tautology is a statement that is true in any possible interpretation. For example, the cat is white or the cat is not white. That's a true statement regardless of what color the cat is. In the context of this piece, the rhythm is steady or it isn't. And we are trying very much for the former. I first came to know Stephen in my childhood when he and my father, Don Jenkins, were on the faculty here together, and I've known Victoria almost that long, and very honored to be here today to help honor him. Thank you.
And when he first played this next piece for me, a Gil Evans arrangement of Where Flamingos Fly, I was totally blown away. I was in high school, I was a budding trombone player, and I'd never heard the trombone featured so absolutely front and center like it is in this piece. Trombone players, at least in high school, are used to being kind of in the background. The saxophones and the trumpets get all the glory. And I wanted to sound like Jimmy Knepper. Fortunately, I happen to have a pretty good jazz arranger for a father, and he convinced my director to let him arrange Where Flamingos Fly for my high school jazz band. And I got to be the soloist. I can't speak to the quality of that soloist, but it was a great arrangement, and I'm really excited to hear it again today. Here's the Tiger Jazz Ensemble with Where Flamingos Fly.
It takes a village. So while the bowed piano ensemble gets themselves set, are you coming? I'm getting nervous here. I'll tell you a little bit about this piece. It has meaning to Stephen, on a couple of different levels. The first one is that the movie, the art film, Il Postino, was one that meant quite a bit to us. We enjoyed it so much, luscious soundtrack on that film. And it's a film that involves the exile of the Chilean poet Pablo Neruda to a small island off the coast of Italy. And once he arrived there, all of a sudden there was a need for a mailman because he was getting mail, a lot of mail. And this young man is able to get a job taking the mail to Pablo Neruda every day. And in so doing, sort of took him under his wing and gave him the gift of insight to the world, the gift of what word means, the power of words. And so we actually had a Pablo Neruda sonnet read at our wedding. And so there's a little bit of connection there. But second of all, about, I think it was 11 or 12 years ago, the music office coordinator, Judy Llewellyn, passed away. We lost her to cancer. And we had a similar kind of service for her that we're having today, music tribute. And Stephen, in a very short time, arranged the theme from Il Postino and featured in it his main instrument, his first instrument, the clarinet. And so, without any further ado, these are my wonderful friends, and I am so grateful that they were willing to make all the rehearsals. They came from all over Colorado to do this, so thank you so much. One last thing. Stephen was number 10 in the ensemble.
Hello, I'm Ryan Benegali. I'm an associate professor of music and director of the arts at Colorado College. And I'd be neither without Stephen Scott. So there's lots of stories about that. Perhaps we can share some of those during the reception that's going to follow the final piece on our program this evening, which is called Entrada. And Entrada is an expedition. It's a journey into unexplored territory. This Entrada is the opening of a larger song cycle called Pasejas Audibles, or Sounding Landscapes. Throughout it, Steve celebrates the landscapes of Lanzarote, the northeasternmost of the Canary Islands, where he visited many times. Steve reflects on the landscapes, physical and imagined, and on the ways that we humans are shaped by our world and in turn shape it ourselves. But when this ensemble gathered to record this piece on this very stage in the summer of 1999, it was just a single piece. In this video, we're going to see just a single performance of the bowed piano ensemble, one of hundreds of performances, which in turn shaped hundreds of its student members over the course of nearly 40 years. A lot of them are gathered here today, not only in the ensemble, but also in the audience, so thank you for being with us. Looking back at this video from a distance of more than 20 years, I see old friends, some who remain close, some whose name I no longer recall. But mostly I see Steve, and I see the things that only those of us inside the bow piano usually get to see. There's a moment where Steve makes a gesture with his index finger. "Give me more," he says silently. How he did that without dropping the bow, I still don't understand. There's another moment where Steve is improvising at the keyboard, and he's so lost in the sonic world that he has created, the rest of us, with our eyes, are asking, how many more times are we going to repeat this passage? You'll see it. And then there is the final shot. It's a close-up of a tape ribbon, resolute to reverberate forever. That too is Steve. We present to you Entrada.